actual bet with my friends in our U.S. soccer group chat that if now I didn't go like to the extreme. Like I do think that the U.S. is going to finish last in their group, but I've learned from recent bets that you really need to raise the stakes if they're going to be severe consequences, because I gave up my hair far too easily. In retrospect, it was a meaningless game.
Yeah.
So I'm not doing anything crazy like that. I said if the U.S. can win a knockout game in the World Cup, which would match the furthest they've ever been.
Correct.
Well, in the modern era, they went pretty far.
In 1950, they beat England in a semi or a quarterfinal, I think.
Yeah, so they got to the semis once in
Mm-hmm.
their history. That if they win a knockout game, that means qualify beyond the group stage, I will physically eat this text message. We will have to print it out on paper. In the paper that text message is on, I will eat my words literally.
And we cut out just the little part of paper that has the words on it, or you're eating an
I'll
entire
eat the whole
sheet
paper.
of paper?
I will eat an
This is a
entire
big
sheet of
difference here. You
paper.
could get out. That'd be easy. Cut out a little.
Print it out. I will eat me and a lot of people that agree with me. Lots. Many are saying. All right. It didn't go quite as dramatic as they'll finish last in their group because I still don't know who's in their group fully. There's still one team
there's a playoff left to be played.
There's a difference if it's Ukraine, if it's Scotland, if it's Wales. So when that happens, maybe we can revisit it. But right now, if they win a knockout game, I will literally eat my words. It'll be among the happiest moments in my U.S. soccer supporting life, and I'll be happy to be wrong, like I was happy to be wrong with Jim Larrañaga. But I'm not going to be wrong. This manager ain't it.
Okay, so he has fired the manager before we started with and this is a bold thing for him to say, okay, this manager ain't it, goes up there on Hot Takes with Mike Ryan's Baker Mayfield, he's got the goods, dude. And now Baker Mayfield is feeling disrespected, and Mike is putting yet more stakes for some reason on something that he has said to feed the content machine, because he wants to eat that paper.
He does, yes. But now I find myself rooting for U.S. soccer.
Well, if Mike Ryan eats that paper, that will be delicious paper because he cares about this team and he wants it to win. And it's the rare instance when I think Mike Ryan wants to be wrong. It's one he does not want to be wrong, but this will be a delicious wrong, and he will eat his words. But Whittingham wants to play a different style of play and wants to enjoy. Dana White argues on this behalf with his fighters. What are their jobs? Are their jobs to win the fight, to survive a fight and have their next payday, or is their job to entertain us? Because Dana White is always arguing on behalf of, no, you have to go and take maximum risk to your life for my entertainment.
But I just want to be clear on where Whittingham is at. Chris, are you saying that you would rather lose an 8-6 soccer match than win a 1-0 soccer match?
Yes.
What?
It doesn't make any sense.
Who are you?
It's stupid.
Who are you?
It's stupid.
You're a soccer guy.
Just win, baby. Just win. My favorite MMA fighter, George St. Pierre. You think those were stellar 5-star matches? No.
Khabib's boring.
Khabib's boring as hell, and he's the GOAT.
Mayweather's boring.
Just win. Win. Trust me. The parade is just as sweet if you did it 8-0 or 1-0.
Well, when you say just win, one of the things that I thought got lost, and I really can't believe this isn't a bigger story, because we're in the age right now, Stugotz, of, and right now, this is still somehow... People are trying to discredit Ben Volen of the Boston Globe and trying to discredit Mike Florio of Pro Football Talk, but somehow this story with Tom Brady that shows you a greater insight into what Tom Brady has learned the last 5 years than any of these documentaries or any of these things being done in the shadows by Gotham Chopra, where he gets into the life of Tom Brady, who's been trying to show you for a while in his 40s with a wife who might be more powerful than him inside of his marriage with what her success has been financially.
Mm-hmm.
That this guy wants to change how power looks for someone in his position. And in the age of LeBron James, as LeBron James and Wade are trying to take a more conventional path to the power, Tom Brady, looking at Derek Jeter and Michael Jordan, these are his peers, the gods, the immortals. At the end of his playing career, Tom Brady's like, well, wait a minute. Can I power move here to be Elway and take the job seriously? Not fail at it so I could show Belichick in the division, hey, fuck you. for 10 and 15 years. Watch who really did that and look at what I learned. You don't think that Tom Brady was going to apply himself to that job in a way that Magic Johnson and Dan Marino did not? Like with an obsession about, let me show you what I learned in New England about how to win, and let me show you who was responsible for what was happening in New England. How are we all sleeping on this story? The idea that Tom Brady just showed you with the power at the end. Oh, I was going for a guillotine swipe on, I'm going to go grab power and money and ownership. I'm going to test the boundaries of the league that tried to steal my phone by seeing if I can get here into ownership and play with my power. Actually play with it so that I could come Marino for real. Not Marino go to a broadcast set and work for one day because the job's too hard. No, I'm going to do what Belichick did in Miami. I'm going to do it in this division. How is this not a giant story?
And not a denial. The story's been out there for a long time.
Not one.
Not a single denial from any of the entities. Not even a half-hearted denial, which is like a transparent lie. Nothing in the way of denial. I don't understand why legacy media has avoided it. Are they waiting for Tom Brady to be asked the direct question and then have to cover it? I don't know what's happening.
Why are people attacking Ben Volin and Mike Florio?
Because they think it's too absurd to be true, even though it just happened, and their reporting is solid. They're not gas bags. They're not takers. They're not people who don't vet their information and just say things that, now maybe their sources are wrong, but ESPN's not doing this, and I wonder, Stugotz, if not with this guy and this story, then when? Hey, you got insiders. You just paid a bunch of money for insiders. The insiders are now making more than Darren Waller. You got insiders. Where's this story? You broke the story of his retirement that wasn't a retirement. Schefter broke a story that we're being told by Ben Volin was a note to Tampa. Hey, I'm leaving here now to go get Sean Payton and be Belichick. I'm going to be owner. Belichick ain't owner. I'm going to be owner in Miami in the division for the last of what goes after Kraft and Belichick. Why is this not a bigger story? Where are their insiders on this? Rappaport and Schefter and all you guys who have this, you guys know this is the Patriot Way. Books, Wickersham, books get written about this. Brady just went for the gangster guillotine swipe on, I'm going straight to the top here with the LeBron power, and I'm going to show you how to run a team. Because I ask you honestly, Stugotz, do you think Brady was going to do it half-ass?
No, I don't think he does anything half-ass. So, no, I think he would take it very seriously. He was going to play quarterback at the same time. As to your question with Volin and Mike Florio, it's not ESPN's story. If it was their story, it'd be a bigger deal. I hate to say it, but that's the truth.
Well, I don't know how you verify the facts, but if you verify facts that allow you to report on ESPN, as Schefter did, that Brady was retiring, when it didn't seem like he was retiring, Stugotz. In retrospect, the thing that I'm asking you guys, and we can blame ESPN or anybody else for how a story gets made, but a lot of us are responsible in this. I'm asking you, to not make this a giant story is to discredit Mike Florio and Ben Volin. And why would you do that based on the last year of work compared to Adam Schefter's last year of work? Why would you discredit the reporting of the two guys who, they may get it wrong sometimes, you may have your quibbles, but they're doing reporting and talking to sources, and now you can attack that reporting if you like, but they put their names and their reporting on, no, this was a thing that happened. Tom Brady just went for a mafia move at the top of the NFL where he gets Sean Payton, and it appears Sean Payton leaves his job in a secret deal that surprised us too, where it's like, oh, you don't want to be the Saints coach anymore, because he was going not to become Belichick. He was going to become Kraft. He's got the relationship with the next owner of this team. He's doing what Dwayne Wade is doing by cozying up to the owners in Utah. He's doing what LeBron is trying to position himself to do so that he doesn't have to do it the way Jordan did, which is slower.
He was also trying to get out of his Bucks contract, which is another story in itself. When I associate ESPN and Tom Brady, the guy I put in the middle of that is Jeff Darlington as the reporter, who's been right about everything Tom Brady over the last couple of years. So I wonder, where was he as this story was unfolding?
There are plenty of. This is what I ask you about when I'm asking you about all the things we've learned about the insiders and how the insiders do their job. There's a pretty big one here for some insiders.
Where's the reporter saying it's not true if it isn't? Where's the denial from any of the named parties if it isn't true? It's absent all of that. If something's untrue, there would be a denial. Hell, if something is true, you'd often still hear a denial. No one is talking. Is that because of the litigious aspect of this with the Brian Flores lawsuit?
The thing that
tampering?
The thing that I want to ask you guys in the audience is to, and I'm not outraged, I'm genuinely curious. This is America's most popular sport. You do still love the human parts of this, no matter how much we gravitate toward the numbers. This franchise and this player, the Patriots, dominated a sport that should have been random with some secrets they had that no one else had. We argue about whether it was Belichick or Brady. The Patriot way was a very real thing that dominated a sport that's super hard to dominate, and now everyone's looking for the secret ways that you could be mathematically better than caveman Mike McCarthy. Now everyone's in football, of course, they're going to grab. Now the money goes toward the wide receivers. Like, oh, we got to find offense that can't be guarded. We got to find guys we can throw to that simply don't, that you can't guard them. We'll make them running plays, and now we'll pay the wide receivers. The money shifts are coming to the NFL too. The evolutions are going to be fast where there's this much money. This story is a bombshell by any standard in the history of American sports media. This is the athlete and winner of our time that confuses us doing it differently than LeBron did. He wasn't a golden child that you think a holy man reached into the crib with on genetics. No, 6th-round pick, greatest winner of our time, dominated business and sports, was going for the cutthroat move of, in the division, I want to run the Dolphins. Was coming with a coach, and hell yeah, coming with a quarterback. Holy shit, dude. Like, I just can't say it enough. Like, somebody do some reporting on this, please. This is a story of American interest to sports fans. Like, you cover the hell of the sport. Can we please cover this part? Because or do we not have access to the corridors of power up here? As high as we get to Goodell. We can't get to the ownership rooms where we find out what really happened here. And Brady somehow, in the era of celebrity, famous celebrity, but I don't know who's more famous in his household, but famous celebrity couple, modern age of fame. Really, he could keep things secret. He could do this and not even have to offer a denial. We could just wonder about it. He could just go back to playing and having reps and just going back into the machine after retiring and unretiring in a thing that was never, and a note that was never meant to be a retirement.
But why would the Dolphins ever acknowledge this? You're right. Someone should be digging deeper. I think two people are. No one's giving them the credit they probably deserve. But why would the Dolphins admit to this on the heels of a lawsuit by Brian Flores?
Well, the Dolphins aspect, I'm glad you articulated that. Commenting on anything would probably jeopardize their current lawsuit. So I can understand maybe why they haven't come out and said anything. But ESPN, Fox, these all are media companies that have journalism divisions. If this story comes out, it's been a discussion in a newsroom, has it not? There has been a conscious decision from an editor to not move forward with this story. Why is that? Has anyone explained it to us? Is it because of the merits of the story itself? Fine. Is it because of a league partnership? No. With zero communication, conspiracy theories can start flying.
I mean, Mike Florio does work on the Sunday Night Football broadcast and for NBC, who are a league partner. So league partners do not prohibit him from reporting on this story. But I guess, like, is that enough? Like, is a story strong enough to stand on its own even without the aid of the ESPN machine? I know the ESPN machine is what makes things grow, but I think this has been a really big story. And the Boston Globe and NBC putting their journalism weight behind it is a real thing.
But such a big story, doesn't it lead you to kind of think, why is the worldwide leader in sports sitting out on this story?
Yes.
Because it does for me.
Yeah.
Like, they're sitting out on what you're calling one of the biggest stories we've seen.
A decision was made to sit out.
But why?
I don't know. I wish to God they would tell me.
I mean, I presume they would have to independently corroborate these things, right? I'm sure, like, a lot of work went into finding this stuff out, right? Like ESPN confirms things all the time. People get on them for it, but you have to go through your own people and find stuff out.
They like to give their own reporters credit if they're seemingly close to the story. I ran into it with the Cristobal thing.
Yeah.
They would prefer to give their own reporters the credit. But this story has been out there for over a week. I mean, rumblings of it have been out there far longer. The formal report has been out there for a week. They're behind on the story. So who are they waiting to independently verify this?
And in theory, they'd want the content, right? Because this is an incredibly intriguing story, right?
Correct.
The idea of Tom Brady pulling off a coup against the
right
Buccaneers.
Right now, you're reporting on someone else's reporting. So perhaps, and they got to it first, right?
Yeah.
ESPN's not always going to get there first. So perhaps ESPN is waiting for someone within their reporting team to advance the story. And they could call it their own. I have no idea.
This is I do have an idea, and this is how it works over there. They at ESPN have gotten a lot of criticism over the years because they report stuff without giving the credit of attribution to others because they're reporting it themselves. They have to go independently verify it, so it's their information. So if a call is made there on following this story, somebody's got to want to follow that story, Schefter or someone else. I don't know how burned he is by the last year. I don't know how burned he is by getting really lucky on that retirement story, if that's how it happened. He reported that he was retiring, Stugotz.
Yep.
He would have gotten that wrong if Tom Brady hadn't retired in a note that Ben Volen is saying was not meant as a retirement.
Correct. Him and Jeff Darlington.
I don't know how burned Schefter was by that weekend. He's had a rough year, Stugotz. His credibility, we have never seen this much inside the sausage of how this shit is made, and it's not exactly journalism. There are trades, there are barters being made for how it is that we pay Adam Schefter. It's not quite journalism. There are trades being made, and we've seen them during the pandemic. And so I ask you, Adam Schefter, as the lead insider who just signed a deal that was more expensive reportedly than Woj's deal, and Woj is the standard, have you been burned by this story because of how that weekend felt on the retirement? Because it must have been unpleasant to have your name on a story. Brady's retiring, and Brady's dad's denying it. And we don't know if it's actually a retirement. And it was going to, as Schefter heads into negotiations, it was going to be that stain on getting that story wrong, possibly.
I have a hard time believing, knowing Adam the way I do and how much he cares about his job, that would prevent him from going after the next story.
I also don't know.
It could have been an unpleasant weekend is my only point.
I understand.
Mike lived with this with a few hours with the University of Miami coach, and I was saying, no matter how much you trust your source, okay, Schefter and Darlington being out there for a weekend on Brady has retired, you don't want that egg on your face if Brady does not retire. And I don't know. When I say right now on the air, I'm not castigating Adam Schefter. I don't know how hard that was for him, and I don't know if he'd like to get away from the Patriots story because that didn't feel very good, and he can leave this reporting to others.
Yeah, I think that's you mentioning Adam Schefter so much. I think you should just replace it with ESPN because this is long-form investigative journalism. Well, Adam can dabble in that. He's more breaking news guy. They have other people in their news department that really do the kind of work that Ben Volen just did.
I did see a funny tweet, which was, don't be surprised to see this story week 1 of Sunday NFL Countdown in the reported bits and bobs section. They talk about it, but don't actually talk about it and move on.
Is it possible to have a reporter who's embedded so much into a camp where the camp is saying, hey, don't report on this one. We've given you plenty. We'll give you plenty more. Stay away from this one. Is it possible?
This is why being quiet on the story is problematic because you start drawing conspiracy theories like that. Are they too? Is this a Tom Brady thing? Tom Brady doesn't want this out there. Is this man in the arena? Do they want to protect this relationship? Are they angling to do something post-career?
Tom Brady, but okay, now let's talk about this portion of it because Tom Brady is interested in media. Tom Brady has also seen what LeBron James has done. Tom Brady has noticed, like all these athletes have, hey, if I control my own content and do it with Jim Gray over here, let's effing go, I'll create a little economy over there, and do it with Gotham Chopra here because I trust him and I fight with him creatively some, but he shows people portions of my life that are a little bit more revealing than these other guys. That Jeter and Jordan are showing you their version of documentaries, but Brady's shown you more through an artist, allowing an artist to craft his stuff. that he can have content that's valuable. And as he heads into one of these, I mean, I think Apple deals are with the Patriots and with Brady. These 7 and 8 part documentaries are very popular right now. Brady can be a content person who actually makes good content as opposed to some of the stuff that LeBron's been doing, which is just okay. Brady might want to be in that game too, Stugotz, with some artists where he controls all his own stuff and he makes the message on how he retired. Because again, we've just noticed, have we not, with LeBron and Jeter and watching like the death of this kind of sports star when we get into the access now that's going to show us way too much of Durant. Nobody's going to be able to be those guys ever again. It's going to be the golden age of Joe DiMaggio. Like just Jeter and Brady and those guys controlled and Kobe, they controlled their messaging and they mythologize it all and they did 10-part documentaries and told you their story their way. You don't think Brady's going to apply himself to the craft of whatever his legacy is over the next 20 years the same way he has over the previous 20?
I have no doubt that he will. Why wouldn't he? I mean, in every facet of his life, yes.
But I mean, this dude is a monster of learning how to conquer. And
so connect the two, though.
And Brady has,
exactly right.
I don't know how much control his giant economy of a machine can come down on even someone as powerful as Schefter or even someone as powerful as ESPN. Given the trouble I ran into with LeBron at ESPN and Mav Carter making a call to the top offices. Like, I don't know, as we talk about this, how much control the Brady machine can have over this portion of content. What I'm telling you in the audience is the media can't allow it. Like, this is the place where we're going to respect the power. This is the place. Backing away from Tom Brady on what sounds like the gangster story of our lifetime. It's a mafia hit to go from not only Bill Belichick, are you not going to have Garoppolo be the one who replaces me here? I'm going to go somewhere else and win a championship. I'm going to, as a condition of my return, knock out champion Bruce Arians out of that coaching position because you know who's the coach now? I'm the coach. And I want to be the president, and I want to be the owner.
And the quarterback.
And I want to be better than Elway and Marino and Magic and Jeter and Magic for the next 20 years, too.
But if you're putting out a hierarchy of people who lose the most by this being out there, Tom Brady is probably near the bottom, right? I think I'd put Sean Payton at the bottom because he retired after all this stuff played out, right? He still saw the lay of the land and said, okay, well, if it's not Miami, it's certainly not going to be New Orleans. I already made my mind up on that. So I'd put Sean Payton at the bottom of it. Then Brady is probably right there because if Brady is still trying to get out of Tampa, this story being out there only makes that situation messier.
Yes.
It probably helps his case. You look at the Dolphins and the NFL, they're the ones that, with all this tampering out there and because of the lawsuit, they're the ones that have the worst look with this story being out there. So if someone is actually being influential with their biggest media partners and making sure this story is not going out there, I'd say it'd be the NFL if I were cooking up a conspiracy theory.
I'm trying to think what I would do if I was embedded in a Tom Brady camp and the camp was telling me, hey, not this one. We got bigger plans for you, kid. And it's Brady saying it to me. I think I'd sit on the story.
I'm not surprised by
not
that.
At all surprising.
No
but
one,
that's me.
but
I
yeah,
mean,
of course,
there
no
isn't a
one's
bigger
surprised,
one than
Stugotz.
this.
No one is. There is nothing.
You're in on the documentaries later. You're in on everything.
Stugotz.
I can be bought.
It is.
Yeah, we know.
Again, all very redundant, Stugotz. Like you're saying this as if you're revealing
I'm trying
something.
to think if I would blame anyone else if they would be bought.
You shouldn't apply your morality to ESPN, or maybe you should.
We understand, Stugotz, that you would sell your soul for nickels. It's the whole joke, Stugotz. We know you don't have to.
I'm just pointing it out.
We all saw what happened with J.J. Watt, where you killed him for 10 years and then you just. I mean, it was
I
embarrassing.
was having a good week. Why'd you remind me of that?
We're getting back to that. I mean, he hasn't responded to me. I offered him to come on the podcast.
You lost. You realize that you lost the second you crawled to him and send that
not so
cringy-ass
fast,
tweet.
my friend. Long
You
play.
lost.
Long play.
You lost.
You'll see.
What's a long play? You lost.
I have no idea yet.
He
I'll figure it
sees
out
that-
as we go.
He sees that in his verified mentions, and he's like, he's begging me to come on his podcast. What a loser!
Right, and what
You lost.
and what our listeners see is a guy who is unwilling. Okay, I am trying to fix the world here. What the world needs is two guys, enemies, who have been going at it for years, to come together and hug it out
And help your podcast.
and help my podcast.
You think that's what our audience sees?
Yes.
You don't think they see a cringy loser tweet?
Nope. Yeah, from JJ. Yeah.
I have to agree with Mike on this one, Stugotz.
That's okay.
I saw
lost.
the tweet and I was just like, ooh.
Why'd you decide you were winning?
Got my desired effect.
You finally you had won. He acknowledged you publicly.
You were up right there. At that point in the game, you're winning.
Yes.
It's not over.
And it was just too heavy-handed.
Then you crawl back to him. Join my podcast. Oh,
The other option was, I'd love to hug it out, but you won't be able to get to me if I have an offensive lineman in front
That
of me.
would have been.
Oh
That's
my
how you win.
God. That's so much
That's how you keep
better. You gave up but you gave up the game as soon
you
as
actually think he was going to join
The game's
stupidity?
never over, Dan.
What was the cost analysis here? You lost,
It's
man.
just okay. Anyway, moving on. The
I was
point
trying to help
being,
you out with soccer.
the point being, yes, of course, it's not surprising that Stugotz would sell his entire soul to have a whiff of J.J. Watt paying attention to him. It's not as pathetic as it sounds. He's made a good career out of it.
A hug.
You should have escalated the state. You really, I mean, how could you not, in retrospect, have just made a bunch of jokes at his expense instead of inviting him on your podcast?
Long play, Dad.
What's the long play? You've just
said I'll
admitted
figure it out
the
as we go.
The long play.
Long play.
There's no long play. But getting back to what we were talking about, can you imagine, not Stugotz embedded in the camp, Mike Ryan, can you imagine anyone getting to us the real information? Because the Patriot Way, even with Wickersham and Van Natta sniffing around all that stuff, it's hard to get close to their inner circles. It's like a machine. It's like trying to find controversies in like a military commune.
But what are you doing here? You want the worldwide leader to acknowledge it because
No,
that makes
no.
it news. Because you have, to Woody's point, NBC has the stake in pro football talk. Ben Volen, it works for a major paper.
Let's get Florio on here to talk to him about what's happening here. I want to understand. Let's reach out to Florio and talk to him as well, because I'd like to. I'm not blaming ESPN. I'm just saying when a bunch of different powerful entities are standing in the way of us getting to the truth on something that I think that we'd like to know as an American populace that wishes to be entertained by a guy who's fed the sports economy for 20 years.
But how is the Boston Globe and NBC not enough?
I'm asking everybody
It's the
listening.
Boston Globe.
I know there are people. I know that's a good point, but it does matter. ESPN's voice on this does matter, and there are people inside that building, multiple, that are wondering why that voice is missing too.
It doesn't have to just be ESPN though. Fine, another bought and purchased. The NFL Network, are they talking about this? Is there independent reporting on this?
I haven't watched,
Are
to be fair,
Fox
but I
and
doubt it.
Glazer reporting on this? Is anybody reporting on this? I'm not asking to do the work. It's hard work. But if you're in bed with all your partners, like as you see in front of Congress, what's happened to the Washington football franchise, and you see some of these details coming out, Stugotz, on, these are really powerful clubs. These are really tight country clubs that Jerry Jones doesn't want you seeing, that he's paid millions of dollars to keep a woman quiet who now he believes is trying to extort him, allegedly. And so now he's spending millions more now on fighting these lawsuits that these rich guys don't want you to see. How is it not a bigger story that Tom Brady just tried to take a machete into the entry point on that club? Like, I don't know who needs to do the reporting on it, but I'm begging someone. Let's talk to Gotham Chopra, who's all around the Tom Brady content. Let's see how close we can get to some of the frictions on the machine that have all these partnerships making money for each other.
Let's get on Jimmy Gray. How about that?
Jim Gray, to find out what that business deal is.
How about Larry Fitzgerald?
He reported Never Say Never on Let's Effin' Go,
So
the Jim Gray podcast.
So Fox's NFL reporting is pretty limited to just their pregame show, and it's out of season. They famously kind of did away with the journalistic aspects of their media enterprise. Their website has a write-up on Tom Brady, but there's no byline on it. It is just straight-up aggregation. So I'm not really sure where Glazer's voice would be in this during the offseason. He doesn't have a landing
I'm just
page
begging
to put his
any
work.
of them. I know, Mike. I understand what you're saying. Glazer can't be the entire news division.
No, it's NFL Network. And
these stories are hard to get to. But if no one, you know when they're hardest to get to, Mike? If no one's trying.
Well, two people are though.
CBS. Is there a byline on CBS?
Yeah.
But it's an aggregation story on CBS. Can we find it aggregated on ESPN? And can we find it aggregated on the NFL's media page? That's a good way to
do you
start.
have like creepy conspiratorial music? Can we borrow some from Basketball Illuminati?
X-Files.
It's an excellent. Well, X-Files probably owns that.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Thank you, though, Stugotz.
I was just trying to help out.
I appreciate all of your help from every angle, just very easily lobbing out. Yeah, can you get the X-Files music that someone else owns the rights to? Because I just steal
the first
stuff.
piece of music I thought of.
Because
I
just need...
You were a big X-Files guy.
I loved X-Files, yeah. Scully, Mulder, the smoking man. Oh, God. He was smoking cigarettes out of his throat at one point.
Wasn't Trebek on an episode, I think?
No way.
I think Trebek had a cameo.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow.
Do you have some spooky music here? Because I would like for the audience to help us. We need help here. We're not a giant media entity, and one of the things that we wanted with this wonderful freedom that Meadowlark provides us is to be beholden to no corporate sponsors. The NFL, it was a point of pride when we were negotiating some of the stuff we were negotiating. Nope, we are not going to be able to be silenced by the NFL. Who's silencing us here? Why are we not closer to what should be the story of our time?
Ooh, how about the unsolved mystery music?
I can't play that. Stugotz.
Okay.
It's
But that is
number
a
two
banger.
that comes to my head.
That music is terrifying.
Trebek was on X-Files.
Well, Josh Allen. It's got to be a bigger story. I don't know how we get to be a bigger story. I don't know who we need to talk to, who we need to tell to see if we have any reach or roar as a show. You've got two credible entities. You've got Pro Football Talk and Ben Volen. The reporters have said this is the craziest thing you've ever seen. Like, I'm staking my journalistic chops on. Brady was not happy with just being a player in Tampa, just like he was not happy just being a player in New England. At the end, he realized, no, I'll do it myself. Anyone got a team? You know what I'll do with the value of the quarterback position when you all can see I shouldn't retire? I'm still very good if you get me talent. Look, I'm still very good. They changed all the rules for me. The season I got hurt, that's how valuable I am in America's most popular sport. They changed all the rules the season I got hurt. Quarterbacks don't get hit like me anymore because we got to protect our quarterbacks. They're the ones who are in the commercials. That dude wanted to run that sport and made the move to take a shortcut to the front of the line. I don't know how to make this story any bigger. We've got no roar and no reach if we can't make the story any bigger with the backing of genuine reporting done by the renegade outfits of the Boston Globe and Mike Florio, who've done reporting on this shit for a long time.
Luke Wilson was also on the X-Files.
Bryan Cranston.
And Bryan Cranston?
Yeah.
Get out of here. And Lily Tomlin.
Roy,
how about that?
Roy, I've been wanting to
Ed
talk
Asner.
to. I've been and no, the
Vince
late
Gilligan created the show.
The late
Ed Asner was on it.
Ed Asner. We just lost Ed Asner.
Oh,
Roy, I know it's very sad. I was thinking of you the other day because Better Call Saul comes back this week, and
I can't wait.
And Cranston and Aaron Paul. Well, if it's already back and Roy can't wait, then it sounds like Roy's waiting.
No. It comes out on the 18th. It comes out on the 18th on the EMC.
But Cranston and Aaron Paul are making their return. They're going to be featured in this. I was excited to see this as somebody who, I don't know if you guys are looking to binge stuff, but originally I didn't think that they should make Better Call Saul because I didn't think anything could be as good as Breaking Bad, and doing a spinoff would be an impossible expectation to reach. And I was spectacularly wrong. It's a wonderful show. It might be better than Breaking Bad, and they're coming back for a new season this year. And it's one of those rare shows that what people will go find because it's so good and so bingeable.
I found it amazing that they announced the addition of Bryan Cranston and Aaron Paul that early. Like, that is significant. That is very significant. I thought it was going to be like a surprise later in the season. Let's just announce it a week before we premiere the new season.
More people will watch, though, if they know, right?
Well, maybe, yeah, but I think it will be a good chunk of people will watch the show anyway.
It's my understanding that it's fairly obvious that they were going to be joining on this season, given where the timeline is. So what Chris was saying, might as well just reveal it and get as many people as possible for the premiere.
What you get to do is merge. You get to merge people who want another taste of a reunion of Breaking Bad without having to have it be Breaking Bad, because they're going to a show that has respected the original by being as good as the original. Like, that is, it brings full circle artistically one of the great television projects of our time that helped birth all this stuff that you've seen change the way that you guys now, we consume. We want 8 of a thing now. We want 10 of a thing now. We want to invest in something in character development that goes over 4 and 5 seasons. Isn't this how television is now come for the film star? Isn't this how television, which used to be the beneath medium, now becomes the place that everybody wants to work because an artist knows that they can make? Odenkirk just made himself a giant star because Better Call Saul was so good that he can make in his 50s an action movie that was a comedy, because Odenkirk, a Saturday Night Live writer, is now a star because Better Call Saul is something that is universally acclaimed as great television by everyone who makes art.
And that was such a good movie. I got Stugotz on that movie very early, before it even came out in theaters. The movie is named Nobody. Very good movie.
But did Stugotz even watch it? You got him
Probably
on it
not.
early, but he still hasn't seen it, right?
Nope, I'm getting to it.
Of course you are.
What was the first show that you binge watched? We're trying to figure out back here, like, when did this start?
Oh, it started for me about Breaking Bad, but a little before that was The Shield for me, which I think holds up.
I did Curb on DVD when I was in high school. At our library at the school, they had a bunch of shows that you could rent, and I would rent each season on DVD one at a time. And it was probably like 2008. That's the first time I had not seen a show up until like season 7. And I actually think I started watching because of this show, because you guys would come on and talk about it every Monday, and it's like I got to see this show. And so I got each season on DVD at the library.
I love to really. I have found it to be something that, as you watch it and get older, the changing of artistic consumption habits make it so I think it feels to me like more than 26% of the populace watching television is streaming these things, but it's just 26%. So 3/4 of the people by math that I'm talking to right now aren't consuming stuff this way. But part of what Netflix does by grabbing you and replacing television, or HBO or Apple with a Ted Lasso series, is they get you invested in the one thing that'll make you pay for that month, because you have to see 3 or 4 seasons of it because they've got you. Because they've got you with something.
They just need one hook,
with
right.
something that you care about.
And then hopefully you'll find more while you're there, right? That's kind of the business model.
Once you have it, they just want to get you in the door. And the amount of money, Stugotz, that Apple is spending on these giant projects where you're like, my God, these huge stars are just visiting this place to do great work at Apple because Apple's got enough money to just, make Coda. They make a legitimate film. They just made a film. And it wins Best Picture. Because when you have that much money and you choose your artists carefully and your work carefully, you can make great things.
But you'll watch like 5 episodes in a day of a show, Dan? You'll do that?
When it gets
I can't stand doing that.
No, it doesn't happen very often. But this reminds me of what MTV did to me a million years ago, the first time I discovered MTV. Because what you're talking about is the wonder of discovery, Stugotz. Because once one of these shows grabs you and you know that it's got you by the heroin needle, now you want to watch 4 or 5 in a day. It doesn't happen that often, but when it does, you're downloading one of your favorite television shows very quickly because you're watching something you know is great right now.
Apple didn't make Coda, by the way. They bought the rights to Coda after it premiered at Sundance. So the financing for Coda had already happened. And then you go to Sundance looking for studios to buy, and Apple spent $25 million. $25 million well spent because it was a Best Picture winner.
Correct. Forgive me on that. They didn't make it themselves. But as these giants come into this space with the stuff we were talking about with numbers distorting sports, all of the streaming entities are in a fight for their lives over, like, when's this going to tap out with people where they're just going to be like, no, these are the 5 streaming services I'm willing to pay for. These are the 7. These are the 9. Wherever it is your finances are. Nope, I can't go any further than 3. But you're now going to charge me to watch television. Television has been free with advertising. You're now going to direct consumer into my veins on if I want to see this, I've got to give you $6.99. It's the new model. It's what's going to replace television. It's why Netflix.
Well, CBS is still out there, Dan. I mean, I'm watching FBI every Tuesday, 10 o'clock. It's great.
Well, but they are still feeding the 75% that aren't doing this way. But this is where the next turf war is in entertainment. And I'm assuming that all of these people with money, Amazon Prime in this game, like, they're going to figure out ways to make great shit that you have to go watch for $4.99 because everybody's talking about it.
We might be approaching the tipping point on too many streamers, because I don't know if you've read the reports on CNN Plus, but it's got about 10,000 active users reportedly, and they spent $250 million for the launch. And there's already reports out there swirling that there's going to be cuts to the platform.
Well, some people realized that our audience was valuable. Like, it's hard to just pop up somewhere, even if you've got $250 million, and go get 10,000. You said 10,000 subscribers?
10,000 subscribers.
Wow.
Oof.
No, not great.
I mean, but that's unbelievable that it would be that
I imagine
bad.
a lot of those. I don't know how their free trials work, but this thing just launched. I'm not even sure how many of those people are paying.
That can't be right, Mike.
No, it's right. It's an epic failure.
As
like the ESPN the phone.
As everyone is trying to get in the Plus games,
I thought that would work.
CNN Plus has already failed.
Yeah, it was a bad launch. There's still plenty of time, but I'm not sure how much.
I don't want to see the other side of Anderson Cooper. I mean,
I don't really. I saw one of the trailers for what's on the platform, and I wondered aloud, who's going to pay for that? And apparently 10,000 people.
Yeah, I'm reading here a CNBC story. Fewer than 10,000 people are using CNN Plus on a daily basis.
Fewer.
I mean, in theory, though, like, they're a major network. It makes sense for them to want to make a plus. Huge flop, though. Like, we're all sitting here like it's not a terrible, in theory, an idea by them.
But it's already a 24/7 news network.
Right.
Yeah.
A
Like,
news
it's already
plus
something
seems a little bit much.
Like, you don't
right.
need more than 24/7.
Why not fold it into HBO Max? Because that's a parent company. In fact, most of their stuff ends up going on HBO Max. There's nothing to distinguish the CNN Plus thing other than, at least with Fox Nation, you know what they're going for. They know who their audience is. They know who they're making it for, and people are kind of cultish about that stuff, and they'll hand over money for it.
Can we possibly call Bimmel and ask CNN Plus if they want to broadcast our show for a couple of hours, and we'll get them what they got for $250 million?
Negotiate. Let's go.
Is there a way for us to just pop
Get 'em
up
more.
on CNN Plus and just be there for a couple of hours? Get our business team to mobilize here so we could say controversial things about the NFL, so we can bring the story of Tom Brady more attention on CNN Plus. Get on the phone right now, Mike Ryan, and create us a media empire that now has its own investigative unit of Stugotz, who can be bought at every turn, investigating whether Tom Brady's retirement story is real. That he wrote a note, again, he wrote a note that was meant to just say goodbye to Tampa that pissed off Boston because where's our thank you? Well, I wasn't at goodbye yet.
Wait for it, Boston.
I want Boston. I'm just wait till you see what I do. I'm
not done with you yet.
Goodbye. It's hello, Boston. I run the Dolphins now, and I want to beat Belichick, and I want to beat all happy endings.
Run the Dolphins and play quarterback.
That's right.
He should be the head coach. He's going to ruin
He had
more rings
Sean
than
Payton.
Belichick.
He had Sean Payton. Seriously. Why can't we get on CNN Plus, get 10,000 people to believe that? Why can't we make this a bigger story? Why does it die right here?